Welcome back. And once again, this is Kevin Johnson of Leverage Consulting, bringing you the Resilient Entrepreneur Podcast. And this is number 27. Today's topic is about abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset. And before I get too far with this, I wanted to take a moment and talk a little bit about my mindset towards topics like this many years ago. And I was one who always gravitated towards, tell me the bottom line, tell me the solution, tell me, or help me understand this, or, things along those lines, where it's much more tactile, much more, tool driven and that type thing. And over the years, I've come to realize that things revolve more around individuals and people than they do about systems and so forth. And don't get me wrong, that's actually how I help many of my clients achieve their success, is through systems and scripting and structure and things like that. You've got to have those things. But I will also sit here and tell you that after 20 plus years of doing this, those things are almost worthless without addressing mindset and morale and other things. You can, in case in point, if you go through certain drive-through restaurants, you can go through one and they have phenomenal, they're known for systems and consistency and so forth. But, if there are 5 cars in that drive-through line, you're going to be forever getting through that restaurant or getting out of that drive-through line. You can show up to another restaurant with a drive-through, and magically you are going to be in and out of that line in less than 5 minutes, maybe sometimes less, and that line could literally be wrapped around the building. And this particular restaurant, Chick-fil-A, oftentimes has 2 lines going around the restaurant. So, when you start thinking about mindset and its place in your business world, in the business world in general, and you start thinking about abundance mindset versus scarcity mindset. I'm going to start with the latter, or start with scarcity first, because that's what I think is oftentimes most prevalent. So when the ways you see the scarcity mindset come up, and I talked about this in a previous podcast, where you talk to a manager or an owner and they say, there are no good employees in my area. Or someone will say, no parent is pulling their kid out of school for a given appointment. People don't have money right now. And it's just absolute generalizations that the entire public at large for their area won't do something, or something's not available. And I can tell you, kids, it's just not true. But what it really comes down to is that scarcity mindset, and we defer to sometimes the exception or the minority of what happens, but it's the minority versus the majority type thing. Meaning, there'll always be some parents that don't want to pull kids out of school, but there's also always going to be some that will. There are always, it can be a great economy or a bad economy. And there will be some people that have disposable income, and there will be some that don't. There have been people that I've run into that have just insane amounts of money, but they can't pull $100 out of their pocket to give it to you. There are people who have gobs of money, and without going home and moving some things around or talking to someone else, they're not going to part with any of it for you. So it's not this scarcity mindset also comes into play when we're talking about individuals. And if a team member says, I am not going to do something, we may apply that to everything that they do. We may apply it to the whole segment of this practice. So if one person in one department says, I'm not doing this, you might categorize the entire department and say, they're not doing that. And that still comes back to that scarcity mindset that, everything is a particular way, or the fact that we're not going to have something. And what's interesting is when people have that mindset, that's where they focus their time. And you when you focus on what's the scarcity, like, I mean, let's face it, think back a couple months ago how people were consumed about finding toilet paper. That was a scarcity mindset. People were searching all over. I knew people who were driving to this store and that store and this store, just to find toilet paper. And, the same kinds of things happen at your office where you might, you may have an issue, and we concentrate and talk about that issue and why it's a problem. And in my last podcast, I talked about problem solving. This one, if we had that problem solving mindset, we wouldn't even get into talking about scarcity. We would just fix it. But sometimes we can't get to that problem solving mindset because we have that scarcity mindset. We're too worried about what we don't have. We're too worried about what may not happen. And we categorize everything, and that oftentimes then affects our productivity. It affects our attitude, our morale, affects our teamwork, and that kind of stuff can spread like wildfire. And especially in today's environment where you have to look for the positivity at times. So when we have that scarcity mindset, it's literally like throwing gasoline on a fire. It does not make things better. So, if we flip to the other side of the coin here and talk about abundance mindset, and we start thinking about, well, first off, let's talk about the wins. Let's talk about the things where something has worked. Again, as I've said in a previous podcast, there are a lot of people that have had really good months this year. Real estate is on fire. Car sales are on fire. RVs have been selling as soon as they hit the lot. I drive past boat dealerships in my area, and they don't have anything to sell. So, if we start thinking about the abundance mindset side of things, there's a lot of really good things going on in the world right now. And I know that may be hard to believe at times, but there are tons, just crazy numbers of really good things going on. Interest rates are awesome. If you're looking to sell a house, you can get good money for it right now. If you want to buy a car, the rates are good. If you want to get a home equity loan on your house, rates are awesome. There's just so many good things going on. There's always bad stuff going on. But if we concentrate on the positive and what can happen or what is actually possible, it is amazing how much you're going to get done. Because if we compare and contrast the abundance versus scarcity mindset, think about how many hours an individual or a team can waste on focusing on the scarcity side of things and why something won't work or why something won't happen, as opposed to when we have that abundance mindset and all I got to do is find the 2 people that I need to fill my schedule today, or I need 2 people to buy a house to meet my goal. I only need 2 of something, okay? So as opposed to saying everyone in my area won't do something, we boil it down to all I need is 2. That's it. Or I need, whatever the number is. So, and for me, or the way I look at it, it is a opportunity cost of time, because you can invest your time in talking about something that's never going to change, because when you have that scarcity mindset, all you're doing is talking about something that you can't do anything about. It's like saying, I'm going to go change history. No one can do it. But if we talk about the what can be, that abundance mindset, and Shelly, my wife, tends to, she said this for years, and again, it was one of those learning moments for me. It took me many, many years, but she's persistent too. But she's always said over the years, just put good stuff into the universe and it's going to come back. And I would chalk up a lot of her success to that. She puts a lot out into the universe. She helps a ton of people, and she's highly successful because of it. And it's a hard thing for some people to really accept, because some want to see that if I do this one thing, I'm going to get something in return. And the life and our life and our world, it's just not like that. And the more you are in business, the more you do whatever it is that you do, then you'll realize that you may do something 10 times and get nothing. And while you're not expecting anything, 20 of something is going to drop in your lap, or 5 will drop in your lap, something. Just when you least expect it, you're going to have things drop in your lap when you weren't even asking or looking. And lo and behold, I don't have to do any work at all. It's just all right here. I have to deal with it as it sits here. So I would really, really encourage you to, with yourself and your team, just do a little bit of a gut check on that abundance mindset versus a scarcity mindset, because all the systems, scripting, tools, structure in the world, they're never going to be anywhere near as effective as they could be if you and your team have that abundance mindset. So, with that being said, that was my Resilient Entrepreneur podcast number 27. As I have said in some previous podcasts, if you have questions, comments, or requests, which I've had a few, for me to talk on a particular topic, I would love to. But as I've also said in the past, I really enjoy bringing this to you. And if you have anything that you would want me to even come back around and readdress again, I'd be happy to. But with that being said, this was the Resilient Entrepreneur podcast number 27.